Orange tea.
Hey, everybody, I'm Mike.
And I'm Bob.
I'm Matt.
Yes, and I'm Tim. This is the Board Game Rundown.
And this is the Board Game Rundown. And this is Whiskey Wednesday. We are live at CuseCon. We're here. We made it in one piece.
Mm-hmm.
Well, two of you did. I'm relying on West.
Live
tomorrow.
in two pieces.
Yeah.
And the meme game on Facebook is alive and well.
Yeah.
It is.
That's Mike.
I'm glad that you appreciate that. As everybody can see, we have designer Mat Hanson with us. Excited to have you, Matt. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
Like you said in your Facebook post earlier, Matt, this is long overdue. Some of that's my fault. I should have reached out earlier and been like, hey, man, please come on. When are you coming on? When are you coming on?
Well, and you know, just like anyone who does any show on the internet, I was here to plug something. So the timing worked out really well, too. So,
perfect.
You know.
Perfect.
Nice.
All right. Well, first, tell us what you have published and tell us what you're here to plug. Let's go.
So I've got one in the can with Academy Games. It's called Reality Shift. You guys did a great video of it. That's how, Tim, I came to meet you. You did the video, then we met up at Gen Con. Reality Shift is a 3D racing game where you've got cubes and your racers are magnetic, and any visible face of the cube is raceable track as long as you can move them around to get connect. The cards you play to move the cubes can also be used offensively against your opponents to smush them or scrape them off the track. They die, they got to respawn at the start. And yeah, it's going strong. It looks like there's a reprint coming over the horizon where they're going to keep it going. And I'm very proud of it. It was my first game out, and it was exciting to see that go.
You should be proud of it. That game's super fun and definitely could be talked about tonight when we talk about our lists. Because it is.
No, you're gonna no.
We're just gonna have to kick myself.
It is unique. Mike, mute yourself if you're going to mutter about your technical difficulties.
We're working on it. We're doing it live. We're gonna
do it live.
We're doing it live. So, anyways, so Matt, what else you got coming? Sounds like you got something coming soon, right?
Yeah. So, with Inside Up, the creators of Earth, they're coming out with my second published game called Ice and Idols. It is currently on Kickstarter. To be notified. It officially launches on the 24th, which is like, what is that? Less than 2 weeks from now. The followers are almost up to 1,700, which I'm just absolutely flabbergasted by. They're doing a really. I see the ads on my Instagram and Facebook all the time. They're giving it a great push. This is a sequel to Block and Key. So same artist who did the artwork for that did all the illustrations for this. The same explorers, basically, if you've played Block and Key, you know, it's like this temple in the jungle. Now you've entered and gone deeper down in. Now they're completely different games. It's sort of a spiritual sequel, not so much as a literal sequel, but
sure.
Lots of cool stuff. They peppered in. Base mechanics are all there. And again, the theme that we're working on tonight, a little self-indulgent because obviously lots of cool little components and cool way this game works. This is a dual layer board.
Yeah.
Say that again?
Yeah.
The whole board. That's why I'm enjoying that dual layer board. And then you said it.
Yeah. So you got clear acrylic tiles on top of your path, going over your map down below, and the whole board can rotate and spin you around. You can move the path tiles around, and then you can Pac-Man across the board. So if I exit one side, I re-enter the other side. I'm so thrilled to see this thing come out. They did an amazing job.
Nice. Looks cool, man. It looks very cool. And now I know like people don't always have a choice, and maybe you can say and maybe you can't, but like when you were like trying to get this with a publisher and get this signed, were you pushing to be like the game needs to at least still resemble this, represent this? Like, I need these components. I need this board. I need this.
So when I sell a game, like I've said this before to other board game designers, like I would sell a Post-it note if I could get away with it.
Oh,
right?
sure.
I'm going to get you just enough. If you see the vision, if you see the trajectory, you take it, you run with it. This is yours. You do what you want. Mm-hmm. The funny story of how this game came to be is it went through. So first, it was just super generic because that's how kind of I do all my games, just to kind of get the mechanics out. Then I made it Pirates and Buried Treasure, Then I made it like Uber rideshare, and then I had that version with a publisher who was considering it, and they kicked it around and they said, you know what, it's close, but we don't think the theme is exciting enough. Can you try to pepper it up, give it a little more excitement in like the theme of what we're doing, because rideshare is just kind of meh. So all right, cool, I can do that. And I did this whole Indiana Jones Temple Explorer. I mean, the base of the game is a pick up and deliver game, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're navigating the board to get to a spot to get the thing, and then navigate the board again to go to the place. So instead of picking up the red passenger to go to the airport, now you're going to take the dagger to the snake pit, and like all these sort of Indiana Jones tropes. As I was in the process of developing this game, I was at Origins, and I came across Inside Up, and I showed them this game, said, hey, here's this game like in the middle of development. Here's the original version, and here's what I'm doing with it. And aside from a few little legalities back and forth and getting paperwork signed, they pretty much just took it on the spot.
Nice.
Saw where I was going with it, saw the theme, and with that theme, that Indiana Jones thing that I put together, they're like, oh well, this fits in really well with Block and Key and Temple Explorers. And so immediately, like from the get-go, it was, this could be sequel to.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome when you kind of, I don't want to say luck into, but when you have something and you meet with somebody and it meets their catalog, you know what I mean? And like their vibe and what they're trying to do, you're on brand for them.
Anyone who pitches at conventions knows that there are like these gatekeepers who like, no, go to the website, go to info and send us the stuff and we'll get back to you. And I had the real good luck of getting Connor, who's the president of Inside Up, in the booth by himself when it wasn't busy, no gatekeepers, and like, and he's like, cool, come back at 3 o'clock, and like, and it just happened so fast.
That's awesome.
And I realized how lucky I was and how many lines I skipped because I just like talked straight to the guy.
I mean, we kind of do a similar thing with as reviewers, right? Like, oh, hey, we'd really like to, and again, you go to the website and fill out the media form, and then sometimes we hear back and sometimes we don't. But 9 out of 10 times, if we get to meet somebody and like talk to them about how enthusiastic we are about, and excited to see some of their stuff, then it's like, yeah, we want to work with you. And it's like, awesome. But sometimes it is just hard to get in front of people, and be able to really, share it the way that you want it shared. Right. Because then at least, you gave it your best shot, and, you have to. You're right, David. You are right. So Mike and Bob, are you guys okay over there?
Yeah.
Okay.
So far, so good. It's just a little different without a second monitor.
No, you're good, man. You're shooting on remote. I'm not going to bust your balls too much, but I want to pick on you like this much.
Right.
You'll get to. I'm sure I'll flub this up. It's a little tricky. We should say some hi to some people though, because there's a couple people in the chat here that are not far from us. Evan, he's very far from us. He's in the Pacific Northwest. He is not one of those people.
He is as far as you can get while staying in the same country, just about.
Brandon, who's been one of our regulars here lately, he is going to CuseCon and he's at the Bullfinch. That was our last stop. So we went to the Bullfinch Brew Pub. Basically it was we checked in and then we ran over there to try a flight. So correct, we are not there anymore. And Alan, we just met him before we started streaming and he is sitting over there. So.
I told him to go over and pop on. He better pop on.
Yep, so he's over there eating, so that's really cool.
I think I know who Legion is.
And welcome, Legion. I believe that is
Dan's brother.
Yeah,
it's Dan's brother.
But we also have Steph on the other side of the world saying hi. Wayne's in here. David has joined us. Thank you, everybody, for joining.
Eric from KB Games, Cuse Canton in Detroit.
Cuse Cant, is that what I heard? Nice.
Yeah, he said they're doing a Cuse Cant.
Wah, wah.
I like it. So speaking of, Matt, what are you drinking?
Yeah.
So I am drinking Tin Cup. This is a mountain whiskey or a miner's whiskey. This is my new jam lately. I really like the finish and the taste, and it's a good genre I find myself in.
Nice. I've heard of that one, but I have yet to try it. I'll have to check that one out.
Comes with its own little
Tim?
tin cup that you can, you know.
Well,
wow.
Oh,
Okay.
it comes with a tin cup.
Nice.
See, and I thought he was just a big fan of like Kevin Costner, Rene Russo golf movies, but
Totally.
It's
Yeah.
just you, Tim. Just you.
just me. Was that only me? Was I the only one? I'm drinking the Blackland. It's a Texas rye. Jim Cole gave it to me. So it is really good, man. It is really good. He's kind of, I don't want to say like swaying me away from bourbons, but he's definitely got the ryes are catching my eye, you know. So
Okay.
Ryes are good. Okay, so we got a mountain whiskey, we got a Texas whiskey, and we got a New York whiskey. We picked this one up. This is Iron Smoke. We picked this one up actually on the way to the Collegian here.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like about 2 miles from the hotel. And I was like, dang it, we can't do Whiskey Wednesday without
We don't have any
a
whiskey.
bottle. Yeah,
Yeah.
we got to make a stop. So I look, and there's these places called Liquor Worlds. They're in these massive pole barns. It was one of the biggest
collections
inventories I've
ever
seen of any
seen.
liquor store.
Yeah.
Like we had tons to choose from.
Yeah.
So we picked up multiple bottles of New York whiskey. So
Yep.
Were there any others you considered getting?
well, there is actually.
That
Bob,
feels-
would you like to tell everybody what that one was? Segue.
Set him up and knock him
That's
out.
right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah. This is a family-friendly show.
Is
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
Is it?
I think that's the first time that's ever been said.
This is true.
How big was that chicken you saw?
Foot long. It was a full foot.
A full foot.
long
1 full foot.
of chicken.
So
Yeah.
we'll just go ahead and throw it out there. We were looking at this whiskey. Bob did grab some, but he was nervous about putting it on the show,
A little bit.
and it's called 1 Foot Cock. So we have a 1 foot cock
Up in
in
our
the room
for later.
Listen, what you boys do, you know, listen,
Stays at-
I
What
support
happens
you.
at CuseCon
Stays
stays
at
at CuseCon.
Yeah, exactly. Except for the herpes. Those come back with you.
Right, that's forever. Those are forever. The gift that keeps on giving.
this Iron Smoke is pretty good. It's definitely got
It's
a
not bad.
smoky finish.
Yes.
But yeah, pretty solid.
I'm actually kind of excited too. So there's an old high school friend I bet about 5 or 6 years ago that the Dolphins are going to have a better football season than the Bills because he's a huge Bills fan, and the Dolphins have yet to have a better season than the Bills. And I still hadn't been paid on my bet, which was supposed to be a bottle of something, and they actually had a bottle of Mafia whiskey, and it's brewed in Buffalo, and it's got the Buffalo Bills colors on it and everything. So I picked that up for him, and
Can-
I'm going to
Can
finally
I
pay
just
off my debt.
stop saying that whiskey is brewed, please?
Well,
It's distilled, guys.
aged, distilled. Sure, it's brewed.
Mike is a beer snob. He's an alcohol snob. He literally has an app in which he rates beers on his phone.
True.
So he should use the right terminology. If he's going to be a
Should.
snob, he should. Bob, I get it. You're not the
I don't drink
connoisseur.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You drink on Wednesdays.
That's pretty much
Did
it.
I say brewed here in New York?
You did.
I did. It's
You did.
distilled here in New York. Somebody slapped me with a 1 foot cock.
I did, yeah.
Bob just said I did. I love
Smash that thumbs up. That's right.
Where was the other 6 inches of cock?
Uh,
it. It's coming later. You might want to
We
sleep
were at
with
a
one eye
brewery,
open.
so
yeah.
maybe I'll blame that on why the wrong.
Yeah,
verb
but no,
was
yeah,
being
we had
used.
a flight of ciders. They have a nice slate of ciders available there, so I got to try 4 different ciders, which was nice. And then we went to Tejas de Brazil and overate on meat, and then we had to come back home and back to the hotel and take a nap because we ate about almost our weight in meat. So
Nice.
it was fantastic.
So when everyone comes up to you and says, "What's your secret to perfect health and long life?" It's just whiskey and lots of meat.
Whiskey
Yeah.
and lots of meat. That's
Yeah, we're having a heart attack, Bob.
make your nuts in there, Bob.
Oh, snap.
Good stuff.
That is basically my diet, though. Red meat and
Yeah.
bourbon.
Well, in that vegetable you ate like 10 years ago.
Yeah, that counts.
Yeah, that still counts. That one piece is doing a lot of work. It's like a carrot you
man.
had 10 years ago.
A basket of
Listen.
French fries is basically a salad.
Yeah. Yeah, you put ketchup on it. There's your tomatoes. You're good.
Okay, those are vegetables, right? Yeah.
That's right.
I'm here for it. Well, all right, boys. We should we got a list to do. And this list is really
sure.
What are you doing, Mike?
Just real quick, I'm dropping Ice and Idols. We got to make sure
Oh,
that
yeah.
link gets out there.
Yeah,
Matt,
put
what
that
was
out
that
there.
launch date again?
What was that?
When's it go
What's
live?
the launch date for
It
Ice
goes
and
live
Idols?
September 24th.
Oh, we're close.
Nice.
So
We are close.
as of right now, here, let's get a live feed because we're doing this live.
Next week.
6 days.
We've got
Like some pretty awesome components.
Yeah. So just shy of 1,700 followers so far. I'm hoping by the time it launches, we got 2,000. That'd be awesome. That'd be amazing. Just have that many people like excited and supporting it.
Nice.
But honestly, already, I can't believe like I remember when I first started watching the ticker, I was like, ooh, like 40, ooh, 90, like, oh, that's nice. And then all of a sudden, like 500, 1,000. Like, it's just it's amazing to see it.
It
like,
is
grow and people
fun to watch. It is fun to
Yeah.
watch that stuff. It's
And I
super
haven't been
exciting.
watching this every single day, like every hour checking it. I just,
No,
like,
no. I don't. I would never do that with subs and people.
It's
people
I'm
paying
so
attention to stuff.
it's yeah, I'm so happy. Like we're working with Inside Up. They're doing an amazing job. They're a great group of guys. And gals.
Well, I also have to imagine one last thing on this real quick is that like it's probably really hard to get like that first game published and and maybe even that second game, but like once you get a few under your belt and you've got some work to show, doesn't that help?
Yeah.
Doesn't
Some name recognition.
Yeah, I mean, there's a spot at some point where I'm sure it's going to get easier. Where like you want to get one, like, okay, I got one. Okay, well that was just a fluke. I need to get two. Okay, like maybe two. All right, I just got to get a third one. And like
Right.
that's what I'm working on right now. And I got a few feelers out to get the third one launched. But I feel like once I get the third, I'm just gonna say, okay, but those three, I just got to get the fourth one. Then it'll really be solidified.
Now, can I ask you about a prototype that you had like a year ago, and if there's any
Yes.
movement on that? Because that game looked really cool,
Yes.
where you were like spiraling around like a whirlpool, and there was
spinning whirlpool with
Yes.
I
tentacles
remember
coming
that.
out of the whirlpool that would attack you.
Yeah.
And every round, you generate just one space in, so you're always fighting the current.
yeah.
And
So you're like
your movement in is cheap to go in. Your movement out is a lot, so it's hard to fight the current. That is currently on a soft signing with a publisher that I can't because it's not
no,
official yet.
you're fine. You're
Sure,
fine. I don't want to.
So we're going back and forth. We met at Origins. He gave me feedback. I immediately got to work. I prototyped. I cut out chipboard. I glued stuff down. I got it out. Got a few play tests in. Things seemed better. Like it was great feedback. Showed it to him at Gen Con. It's okay. I see where this is going. It's not 100% there, but it's on its way. Let me jump on board. We'll ride the wave together. And when we arrive at okay, this game's ready, then we officially sign. So
Nice.
we're loosely in agreement right now.
I just thought that game looked badass, and I'm really glad to hear that it's still alive.
Yes, yes.
Because
very much.
when I met you and I was talking to you, you were teaching some guys, and I kind of just hung out and watched them play it for a little while, and I was like, this game looks freaking cool.
Yeah.
So, and I can say, and Bob and I have talked about this before, we've seen some prototypes and stuff like, and we've even done some like previews for games like Kickstarters, and then the Kickstarter doesn't go anywhere, unfortunately, or, and then the game is gone forever. And it's like, man, like, do we even still have that? I wish we still had that prototype because I want to play that
Yeah.
damn game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's two specifically that I really wish that we still had laying around.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so good. It's always really exciting to see games like in early stages. For me anyways, I think so. But then it's like it's even better when you're like, I saw this game when it was, cardboard, like cards glued to magic cards,
Right.
and
Right.
and stuff like that.
That warms
So
the hipster Tim's heart,
it does. It does.
Yeah.
I liked it before it was cool. Now it sucks,
That's
but it
right.
was
Now
cool.
it sucks.
Man, a year
It was
ago,
cool
this game
before,
was
though.
amazing.
Yeah.
And Mike and Bob, if you guys get a chance to, I imagine you'll talk to Googs at some point at CuseCon.
Oh yeah.
All right, give him hell for me because there's a project he and I want to work on, and he just can't seem to find the time. Let's
Okay.
really apply some pressure on him, like, and I don't mean like
Anything
lightly,
that we
like
can
really bully
Hey, I'm
him,
actually gonna take a
like
note on
make
this.
it personal.
Anything
Yeah.
we can do to give him a hard time is a
Listen,
good thing.
That's true.
I am going to Syracuse only to give Mike a hard time because if I didn't
Correct.
go to Syracuse, because when I didn't go last year, all I got for a year from him was a hard time. So
Right.
now it's my turn.
And he's a semi-regular watcher. We're in his town. He's not watching. I'm actually offended by that, so I'll be giving him a hard time about it tomorrow.
He's probably
no, wait.
setting up.
I was going to say, isn't he setting up?
He might.
So he can have us on in the background.
Yeah, I know. 45 seconds wouldn't hurt him.
Yeah.
Background.
Say hi.
Now,
That's how
Mike,
much
that's what your
time-
ex-girlfriend said.
Oh, wow. Oh, I'm just
Shots
gonna
fired.
drink
One of the
my
other 6
whiskey.
inches.
Listen, I said I
Alright.
wouldn't give you a hard time about technical difficulties.
Yes.
Regular
How many more
stuff,
people-
totally on
Right.
board.
How many more people would like us to give Googs a hard time on their behalf? We're welcome to spread the
Listen.
love.
Man, we should have set up a GoFundMe like, hey, pay for us to go to CuseCon so we can give Mike a hard time.
Yeah.
We would have
That
done
was
pretty
cool.
well.
Probably.
I think we
I
would.
do want to go back though.
I
I want
would've
to ask
considered
Matt a designer question because
Yes.
Reality Shift is a really unique game that is based on 3D movement around blocks. How did that idea come to fruition? Did you think of the mechanic first or did you think of the component first?
I thought of the mechanic first. So as far back as I can remember, I always loved MC Escher. Like I loved all the prints and all the drawings and like that sort of like, abstract three-dimensional stuff. And then not too long ago, I don't know if you guys remember the mobile game Monument Valley.
Mm-hmm.
It's like MC Escher, the mobile game, where like based on your perspective, you can like go on these different things. And like some of playing that game and having this thing in mind, like I just got this image in my head of like a Rubik's Cube where you could just walk on any side and gravity didn't affect you. You could just do whatever you wanted. So the idea lived in my head for like over a year because I couldn't figure out how to make the thing. And then, and I would just like take an hour after work and just wander the halls of Home Depot looking for like, okay, maybe I can make it out of this and make it out of that. Like, how can I make these things really simple? And then it was a trip to a CVS of all places where I saw this tiny little $5 dry erase board. And I was like, dry erase boards are magnetic. And so then I went to Target and I got a great big $20 dry erase board, put it on a table saw, cut into squares, glue the squares together. And then that was it. I mean, after that, like it went pretty quick from I remember it very vividly because this is right when I started designing board games. And I had been working on a game that anyone who designed board games knows your first thing you make is absolute garbage because you don't know what you're doing and you're kind of figuring out the rules and what you're going to make. So I was working on this thing that was just a hot mess that was never going to work. My friends, God bless them, we sat down for 5 hours and we're nowhere near finishing the game. I think maybe someone scored maybe 2 points, but it was bad. So once I found the dry erase board and figured out how to make the prototypes, that was December. And then by April, I had that game signed. And
Nice.
it took off once the prototype was made because it was like I kept developing it in my head because I knew what I wanted. I kind of figured it out. And even after I made it, like obviously there's still some tweaks and adjustments and you make it just so. But yeah, that's how that came to be.
Nice.
Yeah, well, the nice thing is that's really hard to pitch without a visual. So when you can prove to a game company, a publisher, like, no, I can make this. We can make this. Like even better.
And you can prototype anything, right? But to mass produce it is another question, right? So I met Academy Games at a Protospiel event. And they sat down, we played the game, and after it was all done, they're like, "Well, yeah, obviously, really cool game. Have no idea how to make it, so good luck." And that was it. And then they called me up, and then after having looked at Blue Orange's, is it Earth? No, Planet. Blue Orange's Planet, like those little magnetic hexagons, they're making these hollow magnetic cubes. They basically kind of looked at that and thought, oh, well, we could just do that. But instead of these, hexagonal shapes, they're just cubes. And like they called me up and said, we figured it out. Give us a call. Let's do it.
Nice. That's great.
Yeah.
That is great. And yeah, Academy's up by you too, right? They're like Northern Ohio.
Yeah. So they've got an office over close to Sandusky where Cedar Point is. Fort something I can't remember. And I think they have another office down in Columbus. So Ohio area.
Yeah.
In my backyard.
We'll pretty much be passing through there on the way back from CuseCon because we'll be taking the toll road back. So
yeah, I told Matt I was gonna wave to him as West and I drive by tomorrow morning.
There you go.
So
yeah.
Waving from the toll road.
No, it's such a unique idea. So I really want to hear how that idea came about.
I take for granted the fact that I had already asked Matt that question when I met him because I'm like, how in the hell did you make that game? Because it's awesome. But I love hearing the story again.
Like getting the dry erase board on the table saw, cutting in squares was the easy part. But then I got to get like these nice tight joints where like it's all continuous metal all the way across. And so in my garage with a Dremel buzzing off like the wood on the backside and just being covered in frozen dust in December, and like it was like just tedious. Like again, like once you got these, I just need 9 cubes. I'm gonna make these 9 cubes, and then I got it, and I can go ahead and start testing it out. And it was worth every second I spent waiting.
That's awesome. Well, and with the dry erase board too, it's so easy to work with your configurations, right? Like with your pathing and everything.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Speaking of Ohio,
so say it again.
Oh, we just got another Ohioan in the chat there, Mr. Andrew here. Are you guys guarding your pets a little bit closer than normal? I could
keep them on a leash.
Had some iron smoke.
Springfield's a long way away. We're plenty safe.
Okay, all right. I wasn't sure.
As long as they're not from Hatia, you're okay. That's the new thing. Did you do that?
That's
right.
Hatia. Anyways, before we get ourselves into trouble.
Right.
So we have a list. What's this list about now?
Yeah. Because I would break my wife's cardinal rule of every time I come down here to go filming is she says, don't get canceled. So
we're getting close.
So far, so good.
We set the bar high.
Yeah, Eric. So dry erase everything when it comes to prototypes. I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's versatile material.
So I think after hearing how Reality Shift came to fruition and getting a good look at Ice and Idols, we can see why you picked best components. What other kind of motivating factors were behind that topic?
You know, there's something about when you sit down and play a board game that it's not just cardboard and paper, but there's this clever little like, ooh, what's this? That elevates the experience, that like helps you remember it, brings you back. And like those are some of the games I'm drawn to. Those are some of the games I'm drawn to make, clearly, obviously.
Hell yeah.
But something that's more than just like you couldn't just like, you know, with checkers you can just get a couple coins and do that. There's nothing unique about those components.
Yeah, you don't want something you just proxy, right? And you're like,
yes, exactly. Something that needs a little love, a little attention, a little ingenuity, that like elevates the game.
I love it. I love that idea. I can tell you, Bob and I are big fans of fancy bits and games with good table presence, because of those unique things. And one of the things I liked that we clarified with this is it's not just like the game has amazing production value, but we're actually like zooming in on maybe a component of a game, right? Like so,
right.
Like. So I like that aspect of the list as well. I think that's pretty fun. That's where I was going to go with it. We clarified, in our little pre-show chat, but I was like, well, that's good because that's where my list was going. Because you can have tons of really well-made games. I'm looking at you,
right.
Any Vital Lacerda, Eagle Griffin. Most Eagle Griffin games are top-notch production. The Op, right, with like Gnome Hollow has done really nice production stuff. So you can have like an overall really nice production value, but to have it to start to pull out and pick specific things.
What's that one thing? Right.
Yeah, man.
I like it.
I'm excited.
Yep.
I'm here for
Makes it more unique for sure. We'll dive in deeper into like one specific game instead of there's this on this game and there's this on this game.
Right.
Good stuff. All right, so Bob and I are sharing a screen. Tim, what order are we doing this thing in?
Why don't you two go first and then we'll do Matt and then I'll go. We'll just go in like order of introductions, right?
Okay.
All right.
We'll do that. So here we go. We're going to do our top 5 board game components, starting with number 5. All right, I'm going to start this list off. So my number 5 is a specific component, and it's actually dice. I love dice. I love rolling dice, and I love nothing more than good chunky dice to roll. And there's a series of games that all share a very specific dice style, and all of the dice in these games are probably my favorite dice in any game to roll. and that is the Dinosaur Island dice. Now,
Chonky
those are
dice.
the ones that have that look of the amber with like the mosquito inside of it. So the dice are actually translucent. And I love those dice. They are chunky, they are unique looking, they're thematic. And those dice are used in Dinosaur Island, Dinosaur World, Dinosaur Roar and Write, and I believe Duelosaur Island as well. So every game in that series uses those exact same style of dice, and I just happen to love them. Now that I'm done ranting, let me see if I can find an actual picture of them. Most of you have probably seen these before, and it's these dice right here. I just love chucking these dice. They feel so good and they look so good, and they are a crucial part of every single one of those games in that series. So I had to mention dice at some point in my list because I love dice, and these are my favorite for sure.
Nice. Usually big dice I'm not super keen on because typically they're made out of wood, but these amber looking dice, I love them. You know, I think they are some of the better dice that I have rolled.
Yeah, I think Kyle nails it, right? They capture the visual direction of Dinosaur Island. They have that retro feel, and you know, the coloring of them just contributes to that vibe. Pandasaurus, like really, I would almost say peaked with Dinosaur Island and that production value and what they put out. Like that game really stood out. It really put them on the map. And I don't know that I've loved anything as much from them since until After Us came out, but that's with the you know, Vincent Dutray art and really just super fun game mechanics. I just love playing that game. If that game better be in the library at CuseCon, because I'm not going to bring it and I definitely want to play it. So,
well, I feel bad saying this, but Dinosaur Island was, of course, mine and everybody's exposure to that series because it was the first one. I didn't love that game. I thought it was okay. I still own it because I think the components are fantastic. I mean, honorable mention to the coins because they're super hefty. I can't find a ton of pictures of these dice, unfortunately. Yeah, they're
that
kind of
first one you had
back
was pretty
there.
good.
That's about the best I can do.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
But Dinosaur World, I think, is better. Dinosaur Roar and Write, I think, is better. Of the three that I've played, I like Dinosaur Island the third most out of those three. So it is the most popular, and it was the first one. But I think the other two actually are a bit more thematic and more fun. So I prefer.
I don't like rolling rights, but yeah.
I prefer those versions of this game, but all of them utilize the dice very well. The Dinosaur World version, I think, is a much more thematic game because you actually use a Jeeple. Maybe there's an honorable mention, but it's actually what they called it. You have like a little miniature that's a Jeep that you go on tours, and you're like touring your actual your park. So pretty cool.
Well, and again, right, Mike, like your first pick here is a great reason of why this list is what it is, right? That's not even your favorite Dinosaur Island themed game, but that component stands out to you, right?
Yeah.
So perfect.
I talk about those dice a lot for sure.
Yep.
I love them.
Nice.
Very cool.
Alrighty. So my number 5 comes from a game that came out this year that I really, really love. And the component's pretty basic. It's really just a series of trays with stickers on them that hold all of the cards for the technologies. But in Path of Civilization, it has this really unique tray system that holds all the cards where you need them. And then when you're done, they stack up on top of each other, which makes putting it away and setting it up super easy and convenient. But it's very unique, and I really feel like more games should do that out of the box. If you've got a series of cards where you got to be drawing cards from this pile, like do something like this, because the fact that you could just leave all the cards in those slots, those guys right there, you could leave all the cards in there, and then those sides have stickers that tell you like what resources you're getting when you take those cards. You can see it from both sides. It's super convenient, and like I said, they all stack on top of each other with the cards still in there. Then there's a plastic bit that goes over the top, holds all of it in place, and that just slides right in your box. And man, it's so nice, and it's so convenient, and it's one of my favorite components in a game. And I really feel like more games should do something like that.
I really appreciate that game. I only got to play it once so far, but man, like everything that game does, right? Like the way it all pulls out and sets up so easy, the ease of those trays, like how accessible, like it makes everything. You know what I mean? Like just really well done, just top to bottom. That game could qualify for both versions of this list, where you're like a whole game with amazing components, you know, and nice design, you know. But the initial setup, are you talking about, David? Are you talking about like when you punch everything out and you sort it? Is that what you're talking about? Is that what's the pain? I'm wondering if that's what he's referring to.
I missed it.
Oh no, he just said he just said he likes
half of civilization trays, although initial setup was a pain.
Oh, yeah, well, you gotta put the stickers on. Putting the stickers on things is never.
I hate putting stickers on everything. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it so much because I'm not the guy. I'm not the guy to put them on cleanly. You know what I mean? Like I could never color in the lines. I can't put. I just can't. My brain isn't built that way.
But then it's very much uniquely your copy, Tim, with all the crooked stickers.
That's right.
That's not Tim's copy.
That's true. It's just then makes it really hard to sell or trade later. Like, who let their 6-year-old put the stickers on this tray?
Oh, that was Tim.
Actually, what I need to do is start letting Clark do it, so then I have an excuse.
And you can, I let my kid do it. Yeah.
They probably actually will look better too, though. So. Mike and Bob.
We want a taste of Costa Rican chocolate. He doesn't think we're going to say no to that, does he?
I'm not going to say no to that. How do you say no to that?
Good pick on this one, Bob. This is a great game from this year. Not only are those components like functional, but the fact that they, again, have the icons on the actual trays they
add to the ease of it, you know, because so kind of a side note, like I liked the look of the ships and the arcs expansion of those extra components you could get, but actually hurts the functionality of the gameplay, and so there's no way they can make it on my list because it actually physically hurts it.
Oh wow, we're being handed chocolate from overseas.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah,
Alan, tell Alan to like pop on camera and say hi. He can't be that hideous.
Come on over
pop on camera and say hi.
You guys have a really advanced chat feature. That's amazing.
Yeah. Hey, awesome. I can't wait to meet you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, let's see this Costa Rican chocolate.
Oh, okay. It's got some mint. Nice. All right. So Alan is a regular on the he watches the Full 42 all the time. We've stolen him for some of our shows. So he's been to more CuseCons than we have. This is your second one? So this will be his second CuseCon.
I was going to say low bar. It's our first one.
Twice as many, though.
Yeah.
That's good.
Really good.
Yeah. That's almost like an Andy's candy, but it's better.
This puts an Andy's mint to shame is what this does.
Look at that.
Oh, he says he's got a huge bag of them. So
oh, good. I'm going to get some tomorrow. I'm getting some tomorrow. All right. So, Matt, your list, what's your number 5?
Right. So I made a full top 10 just to sort of spread all the ideas out to make sure I was really squeezing the juice out of the fruit to make sure I was going. So my number 5 might be a little. It's not a specific component. It's more of a category component. But I think we can agree it's worthy of recognition. And before I hit my number 1, we'll definitely be doing the runners up, the 6 through 10 that didn't quite make the top 5.
For sure, we could do that.
But my number 5 is any game with dual layered boards, where a board has a little.
That's my love language.
Yes,
for your little cube to sit in. Because when you inevitably jostle the table, you don't reset your game and you forget where everything was. It just sits in its nice little zone. I'm talking the Terraforming Mars upgrades, because those flat mats just don't cut it.
Yep.
Scythe. I mean.
Yep. Scythe was my first exposure to them.
The way the little monuments inside have their own specific little things, so you immediately know this one fits in this pocket because only that shape fits in that profile. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Sagrada. And then just out this year, Forges of Ravenshire, which Tim, I think you got.
Forges of Ravenshire.
Oh my God, yeah, we love Forges.
All those little.
That's one of my favorite dual layers.
And like the diagonal sort of zigzag pockets they got versus the square lineal ones.
Yes.
Very just cool use of that.
You can zoom on it.
Does that that it should be illegal not to make a game that doesn't have this feature.
Right.
Dude. It's one of those things where when something is done so well, it should set the bar, and it's like now we have a new standard, right? Anything that is not this is unacceptable.
That's right. One of the
So-
first games we did, and one of the only games I've rated a 10 was Smartphone Inc. And that whole board is dual layered, and I love that. You know, I thought that because I love dual layered player boards, and when that whole board came out dual layered, it blew my mind, and like I love that. It was great. So
yeah,
Fantastic.
that's awesome.
yeah, it's a great pick. I say it all the time. Dual layer player boards is my love language. I love. It's fantastic. I love them. So great pick. It was actually on my list. I didn't put it on there because I felt it was maybe like you said, like a little almost too like broad or generic. So I didn't make it numbered, but it was gonna be honorable mention, and I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah.
There you go. Perfect.
Who
All right.
doesn't
So
dual layer player board? Good pick.
my number 5, and it's my number 5 because I haven't really played it yet. I played it with my son, and we just kind of sort of played by the rules, but it's a board game and who cares, right? We're playing, we're having fun. But I picked this up at Gen Con, Necro Molds. So the Necro Molds, you use a spell book with clay and you make the shape of your guys. You build like a whole little army of guys, and then you get to smash them and with your ring, your signet ring, and then that becomes terrain that blocks like line of sight and movement. So Necromolds is super cool. It's got really cool art. It's kind of like this gnarly, I don't know, just wild art I really like. But the but the clay, like you build your units, you use your units, they're clay, and then you just put all your spell clay, away when you're done, and you can buy more clay or Play-Doh if you need to. But just what a really cool component for like a skirmish game. Where you like literally get to, and Bob, when they take wounds, you stick little swords in them, and the swords are sticking in them, so you know how many wounds they have. So they're
that's
just
awesome.
like sticking out of them.
Yeah,
It's super cool, and
that's hilarious. Oh yeah, click the fist, smashing it.
this game had been on my radar for ages, and
That's so funny.
and I got to talk to the designer and the artist and stuff at Gen Con.
Wow.
And I was like, I just got to buy this game. I was going to try to like, hey, can I get a review copy? But I was like, I just got to buy this damn game because it was really, I was just like, even if I don't ever play this with the guys, I'm going to play this with my kids. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And we're going to have fun. And I mean, look at that box art. I love that box art.
Art is wicked. Yes.
It is wild, dude. And I got the artist to sign my, no, but it's kind of like that. I got the artist to sign my box because he was there. And I was like, I'll buy one, but you got to autograph it. And he's like, oh, hell yeah. So I got the artist and the designer to sign my box.
Nice.
But I'm that guy though, too, right? Like I'm bringing my mission control because I know Donnie is going to be at CuseCon, and I think Corey's going to be there too. So I'm getting my mission control signed. And next time I know I'm going to be in the same spot as Matt, you better believe I'm getting my reality shift autographed. So
I got you.
Because I like to get my shit signed because I love it. I love the stuff I love. But CuseCon, Necromolds is my number 5 with a clay bullet. That game, it's just wild. It's trippy. The rules are.
Look at those dice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it's good stuff. And
look cool.
And the dudes actually come out really well. Like that was the thing because you are a wizard and you're summoning your minions to fight for you, and they're spell books.
So like
literally like and then the back of the spell book has all the dudes' stats, so you know what they are. Like it's just a really smart design, a really clever component. And again, those claymation dudes, you get to smash them, when you're done, and they stay on the board as part of the terrain and everything. Just
nice.
Don't play Necropolis with brown Play-Doh. Oh, you have a shitty time, I'd guess. All right, Mike. I guess we are. I guess we're ready for number 4.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Let's get to number 4. All right. How about another 2024 release? This is one of my favorite games that's come out this year. I love bidding games, but when your bidding tokens are buildings, I've got to put you on this list. So my number 4 is the buildings from Skyrise.
Mm.
I almost had that.
So Skyrise, published by Roxley Games,
Uh-huh.
designed by Adam Wise, and there's a few co-designers that I'm going to butcher their names. So this was a reprint of a game called Metropolis, where you're basically like putting tokens out to bid on territories, and whoever has the highest bid basically controls that territory. Well, they just really stepped it up with this version.
Those are the basic wood ones.
Yeah, these are just the basic wood ones that come in the
Dang.
retail box. I'm talking about,
No,
this
But
is
those still
4
look
of them.
good.
There's
they-
not a ton of photos of the deluxe
How is there
components in
not?
here.
Why
There we go.
why aren't there
Oh,
only
This is
photos of the
wow.
deluxe?
miniatures. You bid with these. And so what's
Yeah, the numbers
so clever about them is that the bid number is at the bottom of the building. So you put your building on the board face up, and it stays there until the highest bidder is resolved. And then all the other buildings come out. You flip your building over, you take a token off the board, and you're doing like a set collecting for points. But these buildings are all so cool. They have
Very
unique
cool.
sculpts. They've got a version that, of course, has sun drop on it. And just considering these are actual bid tokens and they double as
Yeah.
they're just, and there's different wonders that you put out that have like different abilities too. This particular component I absolutely love.
I love that you can, when you put them down upside down, they stay. You know, like they're built to be
Yes.
right side up or
Right.
upside down, and it's stable either way. Yeah, even the board on that is super cool looking. But that was a great component. I actually almost had that one on my list also, but I figured you'd probably have it on yours, so I left it out.
Yeah, I love this game so
Yeah.
much, so it had to make my list. But these buildings are just killer.
Fantastic.
Marianne just said something about the statues in Tainted Grail, those menhirs, whatever they're called. They look amazing. I have poorly painted mine, but yeah, those are an amazing.
They do look good
in that game.
Yeah, I had a hard time getting to that gameplay, but those bits were very nice.
Yeah, the game. I mean, yeah,
It's rough.
It's. I feel like
tough.
that's like a Gloomhaven. You figure it out, and then once you figure it out, you can get rolling, and you're, you know, and it gets smooth. But yeah. Oh, Skyrise's raised map.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like a 3D plastic board that pops up off the cardboard. Yeah.
Yeah, and it kind of mimics that it's like floating up in the kind of the clouds, kind of.
A lot of great components in that game.
Nice.
All right, Hoop.
All right, so my number 4 is actually a very simple component, but it's one of the very first 3D components, and it's in one of my favorite games that I love to give love to. But the volcano in Downfall of Pompeii,
Yes,
it's so satisfying to pick somebody's piece up and go and drop them into that volcano. The game is not nearly as fun without that volcano in it, and it's so unique. Like
the volcano makes the game. It's a good game.
Does.
But the volcano makes it a great game when you're throwing your buddies' cubes or your children's cubes or whoever's cubes into that volcano. It is so much fun. Wonderful pick, Bob. That is like nails the spirit of the list too, right? Because that's a component that like not only is it like fun to see and do and interact with, but it like that component like seals the game, right? Like boom, right there.
Yeah,
it really does.
And I really can't wait. I've done a lot of research and I've got a lot of numbers, and it's not going to be cheap, but I really want to make a gigantic version of this, like on a big vinyl 7 by 13 foot vinyl thing. And then you have a huge volcano and you take foam noodles and cut player pieces out of it.
Yeah, you can take the pool noodles
over the volcano with somebody and drop them into that volcano. It's going to feel so good. I can't wait to throw somebody in there.
Bob, now is the time of year you start raiding like the dollar stores and stuff for like the pool noodles. So you buy those now,
super cheap.
And then and then the other components you just find as you find, right? And you know, put it together. You almost need somebody like Matt, right, who has the drive and the obsession to be like, how do I make this? How do I make this? Yeah. And then all they do is like every day after work they go and they search for
I talked to Andrea Deitchley because they make those huge vinyl billboards, and she directed me towards somebody, and I can literally all I have to do is just get a print, like a nice high def print of the board, you know, and they can make a 7 by 13 foot version of it for about $250. And then after that, all I really need is to figure out how to make the lava tiles, and
sure,
like probably cardboard, I guess. But
cardboard or dry poster board.
Poster board, yeah,
And
that could be good too.
And your
So,
volcano needs to be
Yeah.
like orange LEDs covered in orange epoxy, so you get like that lava glow inside the volcano.
Yes.
Now
And
here's
you throw
the
somebody in
thing.
there, like it goes.
Bob could, you just heard how much some of this would cost, and it still would not be the most expensive game Bob has ever purchased.
It's true. That's true.
Hey, Bob, me neither.
Yeah.
So it's okay.
Right. I hear you.
I ain't throwing darts, man. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's my number 4.
Good one.
Yeah, I love it. That's great.
Excellent. Okay, so my number 4.
Landmarks. They are very nice. I love those pre-painted.
Yes.
Mhm.
So my number 4 comes from photosynthesis. Now, photosynthesis, number 1, as I was first getting into the hobby, I bought it purely because of that cover art. I had no idea what the game was. I just knew that it was such a evocative image they put on there, so clean and beautiful. I wanted to know what that game was about. Much to my surprise, when I opened it up, as you put together these little 3-dimensional trees and you plant them in small, medium, and large, you get this scene that really looks like a growing forest. And as great as those trees are, and I debated if the trees were going to make it on the list, I decided, for me personally, the component that stands out more to me than the trees are the player mats.
Okay.
And you talk about the effect of cover art, but good graphic design in the game overall. That player mat, if you just look at the iconography, teaches you the entire mechanics of the whole game, of how many sun points to graduate a seed to a sapling, to a medium tree, to a large, to how far shadow casts, the nursery to buy trees. Like, everything is laid out. And whenever I break it out, and it's been a while, I just sort of look at that map and I realize, okay, right, it's all here pictorially, reteaching me the game in this like very short format mode. And I just love the attention to the art, as well as how the art informs the mechanics of how the game works.
I am terrible at this game, and it is beautiful. This game is like you, I was very drawn to this game. Again, table presence, the box art looks great. I could have even like put I really love the sun mechanic, right? As it moves around the board, like that whole aspect of the game, is very cool, and like a really neat sort of component to this, the way that you track that and everything. But yeah, I love a player board that basically tells you how to play the game. Like,
Yeah.
there's all your rules.
Agreed.
It's just a player aid without being obvious that it's a player aid, really cool and really smart design.
Right. And you have that moment where like you're reading the rules and you're understanding the game, like, oh wait, it's all okay. It's showing me everything right here on the map.
It is all right here.
You put 2 and 2 together, and then as soon as you revisit it, you have that immediate shorthand to just relearn it instead of having to go back to the rule book. It's just, again, visually just explained to you.
Yeah, I can dig it. That's pretty good. Oh,
Yeah,
David likes dice towers, or his wife does. Sorry, please continue.
I love functional components and the fact that you can just look at these trees and it thematically makes sense that the tall ones will block the sun from the smaller ones. I just love that I can just look at them and know that. It's a very smart game for that reason alone.
Yeah, very cool.
Good pick on that one.
Very cool. All right, Mike, if you got a button to do it, or you can check your bingo card, I'm just going to say, because I got to get it out of the way. This had to be on my list, and say what you will, but Reality Shift, the cubes from Reality Shift have got to be my number 4. When Matt's like, I know, this game sucks.
Banner Bear.
No, listen though, when he said the list and the idea, like the list, I mean, it had to be. We were so excited for those cubes, right? Like we saw that at the Gen Con before it came out.
Gen Con.
This is the old version. You gotta move on. Let's
Yeah,
find the
that's
new-
the old
okay.
and busted version, right?
There you
Oh,
go.
yeah.
There's the neon
There
art.
we go.
But a game literally where you've got multiple different setups. You know, you can put those cubes any way you want.
Any
I
way
mean,
you want.
that's the brilliance of it. But those cubes are so cool. And when I was showing this game to my relatives and my family members that don't play a ton of board games, and it's like, well, this looks really fun. I want to play it. I'm like, oh yeah, and it's not that hard to learn, you know. So I mean, it's pretty straightforward. But my niece had so much fun. She lost because she just spent her whole time tipping those cubes over and just trying to kill me and her dad. And it's like those cubes and the way the magnets in the, you know, with the bikes and everything work. Every game is better with magnets.
Yep. That was in one of my our list we did not too long ago about like mechanisms and things we like about games and things that need, and magnets I said need to be in more games.
Yeah.
And this is one of the examples I had.
And I mean, and it's no bullshit. Reality Shift has to be on this list because of the way those cubes and your pieces work. It is freaking brilliant. I haven't seen it done like that ever. I've seen games that use magnets in really cool ways, and I might talk about one later. But that component of those cubes and the way those work is so freaking cool, and really was the first time I'd seen anything like that, right? So even if the game was bad, which it isn't, it would have gotten a bunch of bonus points for having such a cool mechanism built in there, right? A cool component that is functional and thematic, and just makes for a very satisfying gameplay. And again, table presence, right? We're talking about table presence with some of this stuff, and the table presence is bitching on that game. We have stacked up, we literally have just stacked up all the cubes, you know what I mean, and made the stop point, you know, the end point, you know, at the bottom, and you start at the top, or vice versa, and you just start wrecking people's days. And I love it, the chaos that goes with it.
Thank you.
My philosophy with making games is I want someone to be able to understand the game in 15 minutes or less, right?
Sure.
Like super simple rules, far-reaching implications, and like, granted, I've got a handful of games that I have just sort of logged in my brain that took me quite a while to like wrap my head around and figure what's going on, like Scythe or like Terraforming Mars, like, the big games. We're gonna camp out, we're gonna figure out these rules, we're gonna know what's going on. I think you mentioned Jaws of the Lion. What is that?
Oh yeah, Gloomhaven, right?
Yeah, the full version of Gloomhaven, right?
Right.
We're gonna camp out. We're gonna take our time. We're gonna figure this out. And there's nothing worse than when like you do a new game and it's like, oh geez, how long is this gonna take? Right. You don't know what that payoff is gonna be. And I can't tell you how good it feels of like friends of mine or people I don't even know just reaching out to me who found me on Facebook or wherever when this game came out, of like, oh, this is my 7-year-old's favorite game. My kids perfect. And like that just feels so amazing. Of like a game that's quick to understand, a little tricky to master, and like you can just jump into it with very little setup time.
It's very easy. It's very easy to learn and play. And again, it's not so punishing if you get hosed. You know what I mean? Because somebody like rolls a cube over onto you. And full disclosure, we loved and raved about this game way before we knew about Matt as a person. But yeah.
So
yeah, I love this.
I gotta tell you, I gotta address. So we had somebody today that had no idea that you were going to be on our live stream today. They joined our Discord for the very first time, and today they said, well, Reality Shift has really good components, but I want to know, because they wanted to know. I'm serious that this question
happened. Matt. It's Matt as a dummy account.
They asked if, that's what it is. Yeah. They asked if you can combine the deluxe with the retail edition.
Yes, you can and should.
Yes, you can.
Yeah,
that's what I told him.
Yep, that is what we told him. But we also told him, well, we'll ask him tonight.
In all honesty, you could combine an infinite number of copies of Reality Shift together. You just get a much bigger game. Right. And that's kind of the beauty of it, is that like everything's interchangeable, everything works together, and you could do. I mean, if like one thing we had is like if you get 4 copies, where you get every copy but with just one finish, like giant track, all working toward the center, you get like just ultimate mega game. And like
that sounds epic.
The sky's the limit. You can do any variations you want on it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's super fun. It's brilliant, and yeah, accuse me of pandering. This game, the components had to be on the list. It would be a crime to not have them on my list. So I'm looking at my copy right over there.
Your list, I had to bring up that Discord question because they literally joined our Discord today and asked that question. I'm like, this is crazy coincidental. So,
well, it was Matt, but still, just kidding.
We'll go with
no, that's cool. I hope they're watching. I hope they're paying attention, but we can at least respond in the chat, and say, hey, no,
absolutely,
as many as you want.
There you go.
Awesome. All right, boys.
Okay. Here we are to our number 3. Okay, so let's talk again about components that are integral to the way the game is played. And this particular component, I could not imagine playing the game without it. That's how important the component is.
They released a version without it, didn't they?
Well, let's go ahead and mention the game. It's Planet Unknown's Lazy Susan.
Oh, right on.
Okay. Imagine trying to play this game without the Lazy Susan. It would be a pain in the ass, quite frankly.
I've had many people tell me that Reality Shift requires a Lazy Susan. How dare we sell it without one?
Oh, fair.
They were going to, and Bob mentioned it. Did they try to do this without the Lazy Susan? There was talks like in that first print run that they were going to sell retail editions without the Lazy Susan. And I think the overwhelming opinion was that I don't even want this game without the Lazy Susan. How do you even make that work? How fiddly does it make it to play this game? That they said, okay, we're just going to reprint it and doing a second reprint campaign and include the Lazy Susan as it should be. Because I love this game. Like, I like simultaneous play. I like tracks, and I like polyominoes and dual airplay boards. But this does all those things very well. It accommodates 6. It gives you simultaneous play. There's a lot of things I love about this game. But without the Lazy Susan, this game doesn't even work.
One of the coolest things I like about the Lazy Susan is that inner circle. You can pick it up and rotate it and put it down, so you don't always have the two same types of pieces with each other, right? So the 3x1 is not always with the little 2x2. You can switch that up so that every game it's different.
Yeah,
this
really
adds
here.
Correct. Yep. Yeah. So
I'll tell you
really
right
smart
now,
design.
From the designer point of view, fiddliness is one of those awful things you try to avoid and try to solve for. And whenever you can have something as simple as a Lazy Susan just to move things around, so I'm not picking up and moving things around. I have less actions to do to complete an action on a turn. It's the better, and
streamlines.
Yeah, I hear fiddliness and I squirm because I don't want that. Let's take care of the fiddly.
Right.
For sure. Nice. Good pick, Mike.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine even trying to play this game without that Lazy Susan. It would be extremely fiddly.
Yeah,
I think
it wouldn't be nearly as fun.
Yeah. So
all right.
Love that game. Love that Lazy Susan. Very smart.
All right. So my number 3, it's a really neat component. I don't know if you played Catan, but the best version of Catan is the Starfarers of Catan. And in it, you've got a mothership. And on that mothership, you can add cargo space, guns, rocket boosters, and anything that you add to that ship applies to all the ships that you have on the board. And not only that, is that during your turn, when you're done, you invert that mothership, flip it back down, and it shows these 2 little colored balls at the very bottom. And that is going to add to your move. It's going to tell you if you have an encounter or not. When you go to finish those encounters, a lot of times it'll have you check those to see to test your speed or to commit your combat and things like that. There you go. There's some upgrades on that ship. And I just think that that's just a really neat component. I love that it affects all your other ships combined. And the old ones, I guess, were very fragile and they broke quite easily. But the ones in the newer run are very sturdy. I've got the 5-6 player expansion. It's all crammed in the original box, and they fit. Nothing's broken on it as of yet. And
Yeah.
I think it's really neat. I think Tim's digging his out of there.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm
he's opening it
messing with my rocket ship right now.
There you
It's
go.
so cool.
All right,
It's
hold
so
on.
good.
Hold on, we're going back to you. Pull that back out.
There you go.
There we go. That's what she said.
Yeah.
So
There
then
it
there's those little balls that you
balls
see at
down
the
there.
bottom determine your actions that you get to do, or
And your
extra
speed,
stuff you get
too.
to. Yeah. Oh, I got an event, boys. Let's go.
Yep, that's an encounter. Yeah. So-
Yeah, Bob, that game's freaking awesome.
Yeah. Best version of Catan. IMO.
Very cool.
So
Nice.
yeah, it solves a lot
Okay.
of the problems I have where like you can be on the best numbers in normal Catan and nobody ever rolls your number. But then in that version, you're always getting basic resources. Until you hit a certain point threshold, you're always getting resources every turn, and that solves a lot of the crappy roll that you can run into. So
Yeah, it fixes
plus Mothership.
it fixes a lot of problems with Catan. Yeah.
It also
really
has a
does.
nice tray, kind of like the Path of Civ does. However, you can't leave the cards inside, and there's nothing to hold them on top. It's this close to being an awesome tray. They're pretty good. They're pretty good, but not great.
There's other words when they get so close, they just didn't
So
quite.
close.
Couldn't you have made it just like a quarter inch deeper? Couldn't you have made it just a little bit more? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Or like when they give you sleeves for it in the Kickstarter campaign, and then the sleeve cards don't fit in the friggin' well that the card is supposed to go into, and it's like, what were you thinking? Just give it another, 1/8 inch of depth, and it would have gone in there all the way, and they won't be sliding out the top. But I don't know. They need to hire me to help design those things, I think.
Yeah, it's honest. Idiots. Jeez.
Yep. All right, Matt. What you got for number 3?
All right. So for number 3, I want to preface this with I love a game where the components themselves almost are a meta narrative on the theme of the game itself, right? Where like the feel of these things invoke what we're doing here thematically in the game. And my number 3 is the cloth mat of Lacuna.
Ooh.
CMYK Games does some really cool stuff. And Lacuna is, in terms of unique board games, unlike anything I've ever played, where you lay out this very delicate, it's not silk, but silk-like, this very delicate cloth mat, and you sprinkle out these flower tokens, and you start placing your pieces between it. And there's just something about that, the tactility of that soft cloth mat, these delicate little flower pieces that just almost invokes the spirit of the game of like the thing that you're trying to just wrap your head around of. Like we're dealing with flowers, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're not trying to do anything intense or heavy. We're dealing with things that are, delicate and tactile, and it's one of those things that I haven't seen done as well as Lacuna does because of the fact that you're dealing with something botanical and delicate and that theme of it. I mean, the only thing that comes close to me is when we played charcuterie, where you play the game and after it's all done, like, oh, that's not a long game. That's like a quick little snack. That's like, oh my gosh, it's like a little finished charcuterie. And like you realize like the game is almost like a meta narrative on itself. Yeah, and like Lacuna's, it's such a fine, soft cloth mat. Everything's very intentional, very I don't know what word to say. I've never played a game like it.
Have you ever played Bloodstones?
I have not played Bloodstones.
Yeah, I was going to say.
It's a new Martin Wallace game that's like a skirmish kind of game. And there's a whole bunch of maps, and they're all on a silk kind of board like that. And then the pieces are just like stone tiles, like dominoes kind of.
They're like dominoes,
and and you're putting them all down and just doing like skirmish fighting. The whole thing's meant to be carried like in a bag, so you can carry your stones and the maps all in a bag. And you go set them down, lay out the map, and then do your combat and whatnot. You're fighting, but yeah, it's a similar type of thing with the silk mats.
Very cool. Bloodstone.
This looks really cool.
It's very pretty.
Right,
I like to look at this a lot.
What's that?
Bloodstones. That's going on my list. I'm gonna
Yep,
check it out.
Bloodstones.
Yeah, it's a Martin Wallace game
Yep.
too. It's got really solid mechanics, but yeah, that like silk board really brings it out for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah, I like the look of this, like the color and the use of black on the box. This one's interesting. I'm gonna have to look
I mean,
into this one.
And a quick sidebar to just like the appreciation of the components. The game comes with a little envelope of little spare flower tokens because the ratio of however many flowers you have is very critical. If you lose one, the game doesn't work out, so you have to replace it. And day one, I opened this out. Somehow, I lost one of those, and so I immediately just pulled from the
Oh,
envelope.
no.
It was perfect.
No.
Like, I would have never thought, when am I going to use this? Like, I'll keep track of these. Day one, we played like 3 games in a row. Somehow we lost one of them. Pulled it out of the envelope, replenished the game. It was perfect.
That's awesome. That's
So,
awesome.
I'm unfamiliar with this, and that might actually be because this was a 2024 UK Games Expo People's Choice winner. So
Very nice.
yeah,
I want to say
yeah.
this came out last year or the year before, 22 or 23. I
Okay,
can't remember.
okay,
So relatively new.
gotcha.
But again, CMYK, what I appreciate about these guys is that they don't seem to have a niche. They always seem to have a drive to always do something a little different than the game they came out before. And this is certainly, unlike anything I've ever played.
Yeah, I really like the look of this for sure.
Nice.
Awesome. Yeah, this is one I'll definitely look into checking out. I like the vibe of this a lot.
Yeah, Lacuna sounds very cool. That sounds very cool. All right, my
7.5 on BGG.
my number 3. I mean, this is just one of the many things that drew me to this game. I talk about this game all the time. It's always in my top 50. I talked about it a few weeks ago, and we talked about art. But this game, I think one of the things that sets it aside or apart from other 1v many hidden movement games, Mind Management, is you've got these dry erase tile tokens that you use. And so when you think, because you're trying to track where you think this person is going around and recruiting people, right? So you can take these tokens and you can write the number of what turn you think they were on. Like, so turn 4, I think they were here. So you write a 4 on your marker and you put it on the board. It gives you a really good visual on like trying to keep track of like where you think people are and where they're moving. But then also, like, if you guess where somebody was or you ask where they were, they're going to also write down the turn number when they were on that location. Right. So you can replace that sort of guess token with your actual token. And that dry erase aspect of that, where you're keeping track of stuff on the board, unlike, other games that with the hidden movement where it's like, well, I think he was over here, or remember he was over in this way, this area. It's like, no, you know exactly this turn. So you can really try to puzzle it out. And this game just does a lot of things very well for me. It hits a vibe that I really like, but that aspect of those dry erase little discs that you write on and then you use those to track. Awesome. I loved it and was really unique to that game. And I appreciated actually also having that extra reminder to help you keep track, right? Because there's so many things going on and you really, you're trying to plan what you're going to do. And it's easy to kind of lose track. Oh shit, I forgot I was going to move this way because we all agreed he was this way. And then it's like, oh, well, yeah, we all thought you were going to go and do X, but you did Y. What happened? Well, I don't know. We started talking about a movie I just watched and I forgot what I was going to do. Well, now you've got this tracker here on the board, right? That actually it's right there, a visual reminder. And it's really, I don't know. It's just a thing that I hadn't seen done in another game before like that. And Bob and I, in particular, we love 1v many hidden movement games. And so when there's one that like hits you in the right spot, like it stands out, right? Stands out for multiple reasons. And yeah, those markers are badass. I love them. And I think they're really cool. Kind of like magnets and dual layers. Like I think more games should use dry erase components. because you can mark on your board then, and there's no, harmful effect. You can mark stuff up. You can take notes. You can do all these things. And I just loved it. And it's a designer I like anyways. But yeah. Very cool component in a game that I really enjoy. What'd you got, Bob?
No, that was it. The game didn't really hit it for me. It's one of my not as favorite hidden movement types of games, but I do remember those bits.
Listen,
And the
I
art is
love my
pretty neat.
management. I love my management. You love Sniper Elite, and we do not like.
That's right.
Even though I
like
might hate
killing
Sniper.
Nazis. Tim likes controlling minds. So
No,
he's
you
CIA.
like being. Oh wait, no, you don't like being a
No.
Nazi.
No, yeah, I like being the sniper.
Yeah.
Although it was fun to see how like the Nazi guy with the dogs and like setting the dogs up on patrol to try to catch.
I
him.
have yet. My problem is I have yet to have fun playing that game.
Well,
A couple of times I played it at least 3 times, and I did not like it.
So what is the feeling you get when you play that game?
Sniper Elite.
If it's not fun, what is it?
Well, I feel like the map with the elevations is confusing. And the rules on that are not super great. Because it takes they're not as intuitive as some of the other games where and again, right, like we play a lot of dungeon crawls, we play a lot of stuff where elevation comes into effect, right? Skirmish games. And so I feel like I understand how that stuff should work. And then so when I go to play a game and it doesn't necessarily work that way, or that it doesn't feel as intuitive, I kind of hit a wall against it. And also you can totally get hosed by the bag building aspect of it. I think it's a neat idea, but it doesn't come together in a fulfilling way for me.
There are certain games I play. When I play them, instead of having fun, what I feel like I'm doing is I'm filling out a tax form, where it's like there's just too much like minutia in the data tracking instead of like the actual engagement in the theme of what we're doing. And It's like I just didn't latch onto it, and it could be one thing or the other, but like for whatever reason, this one didn't catch me up. I just felt like I was just like tracking numbers.
No, and that's and again, right? Like Bob and I have very similar tastes in a lot of games, and it just goes to show that one person can really like this style and theme and vibe, and the other person can really like this style and theme and vibe, and you're like, well, those games are really similar, so you should love both. And sometimes you're like, no, it just didn't.
Right.
It just didn't happen for me, right? So like for Bob, it's my management, where I loved it, and Bob loves Sniper Elite, and I'm like, man, like that game's a drag for me.
We both like Letters from Whitechapel.
We both love Letters from Whitechapel and Spectre Ops, right? We love Spectre Ops.
Spectre Ops. Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Last Friday. Do you like Last Friday? I love that one.
Yep. I actually just picked up the expansion for Letters from Whitechapel at one of the local game stores in Toronto.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm going to report you to customs.
This is great. I gotta check out Last Friday.
Yeah, I smoked it at Mike's bum.
So Matt, and Last Friday, somebody is basically Jason Voorhees, and they're going around killing campers. It's super fun.
Nice. Yeah, very cool.
But anyways, that's the beauty of it, right? You could have these games with very similar mechanics, and they just a little twist on it, and it either works or doesn't, and that's fine. You're allowed to like what you like. Hey, Steph, we'll see you on the replay. Thanks for being here. Enjoy your coffee, and later on, enjoy your harder beverage, whatever that may be. All right, we on to number 2.
All right.
Yep.
We are on to number 2. Deuces. All right, it's time to talk about a game that I know Tim and I both love. This is in the top 10 for both of us last time we did that list. We're going to talk about Ankh, Gods of Egypt. Now, there are tons of amazing components in this game. All of the miniatures are incredibly detailed. I love the art on this game. Adrian Smith's art on that box, on the board, in the rule book. But that's not my favorite component. Last year, Sam Stockton, Forge was a Ravenshire designer, told me and Tim on this very show, friend of the show, He told us on this very Whiskey Wednesday, he said, "You guys haven't played the Pharaoh expansion yet?" We're like, "No, the game's great. It doesn't need an expansion." He's like, "No, no, no. You need to play the Pharaoh expansion." And we did, and it elevates the game.
I haven't played it yet.
Oh, we played it with me. I played it with Dan and Bob. That's right. So
You guys
Tim, we
suck.
need to play with that Pharaoh expansion.
Do you want me to?
That expansion elevates
Do you want me to
the
bring
game.
it? I'll bring it tomorrow.
I don't know. That's a lot to haul, but it now has my favorite component because my favorite component in Ankh now is the Pharaoh. The Pharaoh is this gold miniature right here. And
nice.
just like the rest of them, he's very well detailed and he's gold and it just looks so amazing. It's got a lot better shimmer than what this little 3D render is giving us right here. I'm struggling to find photos of the Pharaoh actually in game, but it just has a really nice shimmer. It really pops. Ooh. Yeah, there we go. So there's a painted one where somebody kind of took away some of the 3D fleck on it. But man, I can hear Tim digging for it. But this is a great game. So some might even consider this is rated as the lowest of the Eric Lang trilogy, and I'd argue it's one of the best. That merge mechanic is very smart. The way normally in territory control games, when somebody's in last, they can see a runaway leader, but they can merge with another player, and their god powers get combined. And I just think this game is very smart. The Pharaoh gives you an additional action, which can give you very powerful ways to swing battle in your favor. This is a great expansion, and this is now my favorite miniature in this game because of the gold. But none of these photos are doing it justice.
I think it's buried in my core box because I got sent a 3D print insert. So I can't grab the Pharaoh immediately. Otherwise, I totally would.
The whole Pharaoh expansion gives you this action where you place Pharaohs out onto this board. And if you have the majority at the end of like a specific era, you get really powerful actions to use.
I remember that.
They're really useful. It's a very good expansion. And I just love this miniature.
I still didn't love the game as much as you guys do.
Oh my God, I love this game. I love this game so much. I know you know, but yeah, Mike is not lying. This is one of my all-time favorite games. I love this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, my favorite Eric Lang gang isn't one of the three, so it's fine.
What is it?
Also,
XCOM? Yeah.
I would argue still to this day that I could put Blood Rage and Ankh in my top 10 and not be mad about it. I love those games.
Yeah. You know what's funny, Bob, is while we were filming on Sunday, there were some dudes playing XCOM out in the open game area.
Killing me.
I know. Dan and I are like, oh no, we could be playing XCOM. We played Speakeasy. We played the new Lacerda, and I'm obsessed with it. It's really freaking good. It's really good.
Nice.
If I could have grabbed the prototype before coming, I would have, because it's so good. It would be worth teaching you guys to play it. I'm just saying.
Sure.
It's that good.
Wow. Hey, Di, we're actually at the Collegian right now. We're filming at the Collegian.
See, when you get here, drive safe. I hope somebody else is technically driving you and you're not driving and texting. But we do appreciate the watch. So
we want the views, not the.
We want the views. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So that takes to my number 2. So my number 2. It kind of makes this game. Like, I think I would still enjoy this game without it, but I don't want to play this game without this expansion. But the Exosuit expansion to Anachrony is fantastic. The fact that you take your little worker dude and you stick him inside the exosuit, and then he can go out onto the world to do your actions is so cool. Yes. And they're all super unique, so the colors are irrelevant because whose is whose. But look at those. I mean, you can see the little slot there. Hopefully you can find some with like a worker actually slotted inside.
I'm hoping.
You're trying. But it's just see, they're all different. Even like the Automa has its own dudes, but they're just fantastic. And like I said, I don't think the game is quite as cool without them. I always recommend when people say, what's the best expansion to get? You have to get the Exosuit expansion because they're just awesome. They just have such presence. And the fact that you slide your little dude in top and you can see him sticking out a little bit there in that picture. Can you zoom in on that?
Hold on. I'll
doing
get you.
justice.
I'll get you.
All right, who's gonna go
Yeah,
first?
so the whole idea
Right,
is
okay.
that with this expansion, your worker is just a little cardboard chit that slots in the top of there, and you can actually see what type of worker it is
That's right.
because you have different style of workers.
Engineers,
And
geniuses.
this prevents you from just putting this worker on a chit and moving it around that way. I've got to find a photo with the worker in
Here,
it because
here.
that
Tim's got
really
it.
is.
Go to Tim.
Okay,
Oh,
here we go.
there
I
you
They're
got
not.
you, I got
They're
you.
not
you.
painted. They're not painted, but they are here.
There
Let's
you go. There's
You
a little
can-
worker.
Yeah, put the
You can-
worker in there, Tim.
Slots right in there.
Oh yeah, baby.
There it
Beautiful. Oh,
is.
look,
So
there's a
you know-
scientist operating that.
So you know what kind
Yes.
of worker.
So cool.
Yes.
Yeah. Because the whole premise in the game, like in your base, you can just put your workers on your board and they can do different actions. But the planet's been hit by an asteroid and it's toxic to go outside. So you got to power up these exosuits at the start of your turn. And then you can take your workers, slot them inside there, and send them out to the world to harvest resources and do all types of actions. Yeah, it's fantastic. One of the coolest bits in my number. That's my number one game is Anachrony, and those exosuits are a good chunk of that. So that and time travel.
Man, I've
In fact,
got.
you can borrow.
I haven't opened my game in a while. I forgot I put like almost all the components into like planos
Yeah.
because there's so much like different stuff. But it helps with
Yeah.
the organization so much.
Yeah, I got the Infinity box, so it came with a big, fancy, crazy insert
Yeah.
where everything has, a place for everything and everything in its place.
So kind of like Cthulhu Wars, Bob, I knew I wasn't going to buy the Infinity box because I'd never play mine because
Yeah,
yours would get played. Yours would get played more than mine. So
Sure, yeah.
So I just play yours.
Okay, let's play. I didn't bring it.
Let's
though.
go.
Damn it.
Yeah, you won't find a whole lot of photos of Anachrony without this expansion because it is a mandatory expansion. It looks good and it adds functionality to an amazing game.
Yeah. Yep. That's my number 2.
Great pick.
Thank you.
Great.
It's a great
Yeah,
game. Have you
so-
played that game before, Matt?
I have not.
I mean, the fact that you can like borrow resources from future turns, but then when you get to those future turns, you have to like go back in time to repay those resources, or you're going
Right.
to cause anomalies and whatnot, and get negative points, and bad things will happen.
Oh.
I mean, it's fantastic. It's just such a cool concept, and it's done so well.
It's heavy, but
It's very
it's
heavy.
thematic, and by it being thematic, it makes it a lot easier to learn
Right.
and teach.
Right.
Like every time I teach this game, I explain that time travel is going to happen because it actually makes the mechanics make more sense,
Mhm.
which just proves to how genius that game is. Love it. Great
yeah,
pick.
mine-
One of my
mine-
favorites as well.
Mind Clash has a new Kickstarter coming soon.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, are you talking about the Perseverance 3 and 4, or the other
Yeah.
one?
No, a different one.
Okay.
New game. But
All right.
make sure you check out Matt's game first. That's all I'm saying.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right.
What you got, Matt? Number 2.
So my number 2, near and dear to my heart, one of the games that latched on to me as I got into the board gaming hobby, is Santorini.
Oh, nice.
Very much like photosynthesis, the components sort of create a scene of what you're doing.
Oh,
Those those building
Mac,
pieces.
Santor. Canto.
Santor. Santorini.
Yep.
Oh, there we go.
Yep.
It can be a little tricky to hear here. Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah, of course. Great game.
I haven't played it.
Oh man. So
It's because of these. Yes.
very much like photosynthesis as you're playing, you're like, oh my gosh, like this is a forest growing before me. when you play Santorini, like this looks exactly like a Greek city I would expect to visit. Like it has such a visceral growth as you build up the buildings from that lower level, medium, top, and dome. It's just an absolutely wonderful experience, and it's one of those games because I'm the kind of designer like I love table presence, and when I play this game, I read through the rules, you read through the god powers, and it's like you realize this is basically three-dimensional Connect 4. Like it has such basic rule sets. Like I wish so badly, like this is the kind of game I wish I had made. Like I'm so jealous of this game. It's such a perfectly, beautifully designed game, but like those buildings sell it. The little staircases, the little doorways, the little windows in the buildings. Yeah, there you go. That's it.
And it like actually is like such a cool representation of a real place.
It is.
And I've seen the pictures from
Yeah.
the place. It looks beautiful.
Looks just like Santorini. All white marble buildings with blue ceilings, blue roofs.
Yeah.
Like this is one of my top 5 games, and they just recently did a Kickstarter backer for a new expansion, Riddle of the Sphinx. They call it.
Right.
And I'm so excited for that game because not only do they have a spiral bound map, where it's like this sort of legacy based game, but the base game also has a grid that lets all the buildings lock in with it. So all those cool little details of the buildings that build up now lock in just extra specifically because they fit into that 5x5 grid.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's such a clever abstract game. I like these little puzzly kind of abstract style games, and this one is just very smart in what it does. Goes very quick, very thematic, and yes, of course, amazing components that represent what you're trying to do. It's a really good game.
And there's something to be said for these games where they're so deceptively simple, where the other designers are like, how did I not think of that? Like that's literally like right there in front of us the whole time. And they
yeah, and Roxley Games, once again, they make great games with awesome components.
Yep.
Yeah,
It's true.
Another Roxley pick. Yeah, that's a good one.
Nice.
all right. My number 2, I have not played yet. Well, I played a demo, so I played a few turns of it, but I've not played the whole game yet. I played it at Gen Con, and I became obsessed with this game because of the component. Bob, you're on the mic. You can hear your whispers.
I said that so quiet. You can hear that?
You did not. Yes, your mic. You said it directly into the mic.
I said this mic, not this mic.
Yeah, no, you said it right across that directional mic pointed right at you. Anyways,
is it right?
An age contrived. The magnetic buildings, the magnetic buildings that you are putting up in an age contrived as you are building up the board is so cool. So the board starts with these just prongs that kind of stick out, and you're trying to like build up like followings for the gods and stuff like that. So you're erecting these temples and monuments, and it does a thing that I love in Lords of Hellas, where you're constructing the monuments. And in Lords of Hellas, you're building the monuments stage by stage. But in an age contrived, instead of having like these plastic models, which you would need to, paint or get sun dropped, it's just these really beautiful looking buildings. And so like you get part of the building built, so you snap it up against that, you put it right up against, and it snaps into place, right up against that metal prong because it's magnetic. And so as you finish these buildings, like different things are going to happen. You're going to get rewards for contributing, you know what I mean? Or being the final person to put it on. I'm bringing it to CuseCon with hopes of getting to play it. But yeah, the buildings look great. And at the end of the game, right, you've got all of these buildings built up and your board just looks magnificent. Again, magnetic components with these fully colored and everything looking things. Like I would have put Lords of Hellas on my list because of the monuments, but you have to paint those or get them sun dropped or, something. And if you do that, they're going to look great. But this right out of the box looks good. You know what I mean? Like this looks great right out of the box. And because I'm not a good painter, I really want the simplicity of having that look like fantastic right out of the box. Again, table presence, and really neat design because the one side of that building is the building, right? The exterior of it. But the interior is where you are placing and assigning your dice, which is your contribution.
Mike had a good picture of that earlier.
Which is your contribution to that structure being built. And so it's a really cool use of that component. So it's not just like a pretty thing that goes on the board, but it's actually almost like it functions as a worker placement spot, in effect, right? Where you're placing your die on there, your tiles, not your die, your tiles on there to show that you've contributed to that building. So
we're getting played off.
Oh, what happened? Is something happening?
They're closing down part of the bar, it looks like. So.
Okay.
The lights behind us are turned off now. So.
Yeah.
Well,
some mood lighting.
We'll be done in like 20 minutes. We're almost done.
Yep. We'll move it along.
But anyways, an age contrived. Bob, we can hear you whisper. Whether they understood it or not.
Whisper. I totally said that. I said it out loud. But no, Mike had a good picture of it, but now it's not popping up.
No, that's fine. That's fine. This game looks beautiful. I love the design of it. I was blown away by it at Gen Con. Out of our group, I was probably the most excited about it, and I'm fine with that. But I really thought what it did was very cool. And I could even go on about those tiles that you use, sort of the tactile nature of those tiles is very cool as well. But the buildings,
I like the acrylic tiles.
Yeah, the acrylic tiles are great, but those buildings are so cool. Snap.
Yep. But there's where, like, as you get those tiles, you place them on those buildings, and the last person to fill up that slot will get to build that section of it. So
yeah, and there's benefits, right? And the cool thing is there's benefits for everybody that helped. So it's not just like, oh man, I got screwed out of that building. Like, no, maybe I just wanted I just wanted a little bit in there just so I could get that benefit. You know what I mean? So there's some strategy there to that. So anyways, very cool. I liked it a lot and I can't wait to play the full game, but an age contrived hipster pick.
We saw that at a game store in Toronto while we were up there sitting on a shelf. Yeah, it was crazy. All right. That's going to bring us down to number 1.
Let's go.
All right, so we have a crossover because my number 1 was going to be the Exosuit minis. I love that game, and I love how functional those minis are. They're not just minis, but they serve an integral part of playing that game. So I'm going to throw in one of my honorable mentions here, if I can just get it to come up. But this is actually a Funko Games. And they published a lot of games, and a lot of them were relatively inexpensive. But as far as like bang for your buck, Big Boss just gives you tons of chunky plastic buildings for what you pay for this game. This is definitely first edition right here, and that may be a majority of the photos. Yeah, look at that board art for sure. But this does a thing in games I love. It is a stock holding game, so you are basically buying up stocks of these different companies, and you are building these companies out. So every time you attach more or you make the building bigger, the stocks become worth more. And as these companies touch, whoever places the tile that touches the two buildings together one company buys out the other company, meaning all of the other company's stocks instantly become completely worthless because they've been totally bought out. So there's a really good kind of sell high, buy low mechanic to this, which makes for a good stock game, of course.
Dude, I've been buying high and selling low this whole time.
But
the story of my
I
board game collection.
I am not finding the Funko Games edition of this at all. Maybe it's nope, it's none of these re-implemented by but this is a really great game with great components, and you can get this game so cheap too. But these chunky building tiles just really make it. Like the amount of plastic you get in that box for what you pay for it is ludicrous.
Yeah.
But if you like light or medium economic games, I highly recommend this one. So since Bob stole my number one, the exosuits, I'll throw an honorable mention here at one.
All right. Well, for my number one, it's actually already been mentioned in the chat. Andrew was close, but he was off by a few numbers. And this component is so awesome. I bought extra and I used them in other games, but the coins, the metal coins from Scythe, are fantastic.
Another Scythe.
I know. They did it right, you know,
Great
and like
coins.
the ones, the threes, the fives, it makes all your calculating stuff super easy and convenient. They look super cool. They're very easy to distinguish from each other, so you know which one is which. You're not like trying to figure out, is that a one, is that a three? They're very easy to pick out. But those coins are fantastic. Yeah, I literally went on the Stonemeyer website and bought a couple extra sets. And I have a nice bag I have from Eagle Griffin Games, and it's in my bag upstairs. And anytime I'm playing a game and somebody busts out cardboard coins, I'm like, nope, and I dump these out because they're so much cooler, so much nicer. Yeah, that's my favorite component. If your component is so cool, I'm literally using it in all these other games. I mean, it's got to be up there. So
Something to be said for it.
Yeah, Andrew, I don't have three sets, but I've just kept adding on. Like I've got the red three or the red fives. I got the extra tens. So I have so many extras of these coins. These are use these for every other game type coins. I use these for so many other games.
Yep,
They're great.
yep. Best metal coins I've used. And there are other ones that are nice, don't get me wrong, but just functionality wise and everything else, they're just fantastic. So yep.
Also, part of the reason I decided to throw a big boss on my honorable mentions was I also got that thing for like $18 on Amazon. And there's so much plastic in there, you almost can't even close the box lid after you're done with it. It's absurd. It's absurd. I mean, it's one of those standard like Prospero Hall boxes that you use for all of their games. But imagine it just being completely full of plastic. It's ridiculous. But yeah, good pick, Bob. Those are like the gold standard.
Yeah.
Nice work. I enjoy the Zaya Legend of a Drift System coins more, but the Scythe coins are more accessible. And it's harder to get extra sets of the Zaya coins, so the Scythe coins win by default because you don't have to like poach them out of your game.
Right.
So I'll give it to you.
Okay.
All right, Matt.
Yeah, number one.
All right, so before we get number one, I got a few runner-ups to burn through because like I put together the top 10 to figure out my top 5. So a few of the runner-ups, the Everdell berries and stones.
Yes.
The little rubberized berries.
Yes.
Smooth plastic stones, like those like perfect skipping stone texture plastic stones they have. Absolutely perfect. Now that's awesome. Number 10. The other one that made it number 10 was the Fire Tower Fire Gems.
Oh, I haven't played Fire Tower, but those gems look good.
Oh,
those gems look good.
Fire Tower is such a great game, and the shape and the color of those gems is absolutely perfect.
It looks like fire.
Number 9, yeah, exactly like fire. Number 9, like number 5, is a category, but games with spiral bound boards. Now,
yes,
Sleeping Gods, Jaws of the Lion, and then
My Father's Work.
Yes.
And then speaking of Santorini, the new Kickstarter that I backed, what is it? Riddle of the Sphinx. Is
Yes.
Spiral Down Board. It's such an untapped mechanic of board games of having this recurring, rotating series of boards that happens over a spiral bound. Such a cool mechanic. So anything with a spiral bound board, I'm up for. Let's see what we got. Number 8, Forbidden Sky. I absolutely love the audacity of a working rocket with little circuit connecting pieces of wire.
Yes.
Really cool. In terms of the Forbidden series from Island and Desert, it's obviously a departure, but like I love the ambition and like that they went to have.
That's my favorite one, and I'm suck at that game. That's my favorite one though.
I have this hope that I'm going to play a game one day where I'm the only person who escapes off the rocket. Everyone else is left behind, and I'm the sole winner.
Nice.
But number 8, because it holds such a sweet spot in my heart, is that Small World, one of those games that latched on to me when I was first getting into board gaming. And that organizing tray to organizing all the different races. I mean, Bob mentioned it before, but just organizing trays in general. I love the organizing trays in Small World.
Good one.
We talked about earlier fiddliness and having to, how can we organize bookkeeping and figure out what's going on with keeping track of what's going on in the game. The Sulcum, the gears, the interlock.
Oh, and Zulkin, yes. The gears.
Turn one gear, it turns everything. Everybody moves wherever it levels at.
Yes.
I mean, there's a version of that game that exists where you move each individual part, but the fact that they thought of gears that could just move everything simultaneously, I absolutely love that mechanic they have.
Yes.
This is a cool component.
That's a great pick. I'm ashamed I forgot about that one. I didn't even write that down. That's a really good pick.
I haven't played it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And it's a good game, Bob. You'd like it. Think of like Barrage, right? It's like a Barrage precursor. Yeah.
And then my last runner-up is a game that I think flies under the radar because it's a kid's game called Dodo. And Dodo uses, I attempted to look it up. I still couldn't find anyone who could explain what was going on. It's this perfect little ball that has a magnet. And because it's got a magnet inside, the ball rolls at sort of an odd rate. It doesn't just, it rolls and it stops. And it kind of creeps and it rolls again. And it's this really cool timing mechanic they have got built into this little magnetic ball that I've never seen anyone use. We've talked about magnets to be used more and more in games. Dodo is one of those games that uses this little odd rolling mechanic where it kind of slows the rotation of the ball as it rolls down the track to time the game when it ends. I just absolutely love.
That sounds awesome. I'd love to see that.
My number 1 pick for components. And I thought about this for a while, and I realized that when I think about this game, this is the aspect of the game I think about most, and I love it, is Quax's Cronenberg, the Velvet Bag.
Yes.
I can't imagine a game component that invokes more spirit of anxiety and panic and fear when I reach into this object and I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, how many tokens do I have? Okay, I got 16. Okay, 5 of those 16 could hurt me. And I'm instantly doing the math in my head. And I know every math. I know every corner. I know every pocket of that little corner of the velvet bag. And like, that's the object that comes to mind for me when I think of Quaxton Thunderbird. Of like, that is the game. Reaching into that bag, reaching in. Am I grabbing from the center? Am I grabbing from the corner? Am I grabbing around? And like, I get into this very odd, superstitious sense where like, no, I can't reach into the middle of the bag. I have to reach in the corner because that's where the good
right. I mean, Quacks is an amazing game, anyways, and
Right.
the it's not near as good without the bag. I mean, the bag and reaching in and pulling out those chips is, I mean, that is the thrill of that game. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, is the velvet bag so thought through that it's a great component? No, I mean, it probably sticks more to just like the genius design of the game itself. But I just can't think of a game that, again, the fear of probability, you know,
Right?
of what I'm going to get when I pull out of this bag. There's nothing that gets that better than Quacks.
And Mike and I love to gamble, and we love push your luck, you know, and like just the thrill you get of pulling stuff out of that bag is so good. So I agree 100%. That's a great pick. That's a great pick.
Can't find very good photos of the bags, but I will tell you, these are the kind of games I like to upgrade the bags.
Yeah.
And if you're not playing a bag builder without at least like the geek up bits or having coin capsules on those bits, like you're selling yourself short, because clacking all those chips together in the bag just makes that game.
Mhm.
And I love talking crap during this game too. Oh, you still got to catch up, right? You
Yeah.
can't stop.
Come on, there's at least 3 good pieces left in there.
Right.
Yeah.
You got. It's only 3 out of 16. You got it. Go ahead. Go for
You
it.
got it. You got it. You're good.
That's right. You've only got 3 left. Come on.
That's one of those
You'll
games
be
I have fun
fine.
playing. I don't even care if I win. I just have fun playing it.
It is
Yeah.
fun.
And for Bob, that's saying a lot.
I was like this, that, and a Hoy Kitten. Like those are the
Yeah.
games. It doesn't matter if I win or not.
Oh, hey, I'm
Yeah.
bringing a Hoy Kitten, just so you know. They
Nice.
may have it in the library, but I don't want to have to walk to get it. I want to play it when I want to play it.
Sure.
Which will be a lot. All right, we ready for number 1?
Go for it, Timmy.
Number
Yep.
1, I'm going to be like Mike, and I'm going to go with like my Cult of the New on this one. Because Mike had a bunch of new games on his list, and that's fine because we love it when games innovate, right? And new stuff comes out and innovates and does things that you haven't seen before. And technically, I think this is a re-implementation of a game that has already been out. But 25th Century Games absolutely had a game that I was obsessed with at Gen Con, and I love playing it, and I've played it a bunch since, and that is Hamster Roll. And my component is the wheel itself, which is like
almost made on my list.
The main thing from Hamster Roll, dude. This freaking wheel is incredible. You want to talk about, we're talking about Quacks at Quedlinburg and being all worked up about like, oh, what's the probability? What am I going to draw? And in Hamster Roll, it's like, I think I can get away with placing this here, and I think it'll work. And this game's just rad. This game is so rad. I love it. It's so simple. It's so basic. But this is a game like, listen, I just talked about how I was obsessed with this new Lacerda that we just played over the weekend. And it took us 4.5 hours to play that game. I loved it, right? It was great. I had an awesome time. It did not feel long at all. Bob and I just played a tactical war game a few weeks ago called A Song for War, which I also like was obsessed with. It's one of my favorite games I played this year, and it's super long and it's not overly complex, but it's not like the easiest game to just bring to the table. This game is so easy. This game is so easy to bring to the table. You know, you can play it in like 10, 15 minutes. But that wheel is so badass. It's so tense.
Oh my gosh.
People are standing up and going nuts while you're placing stuff on here. You know what I mean? On this wheel, and you watch it like just ever so slightly shift and roll. It's just brilliant. The design of this is genius. It's so simple, right? It's so simple. It's so straightforward. I mean, you want a game. This might be the easiest game to teach in the world, right? Because it's literally like just take one of your pieces and put it further ahead on the wheel than somebody else's. That's it. Get rid of all your pieces. You win.
I love this game.
The wheel. And again, it all boils down to table presence, right? That wheel is tall. People are going to walk by. They're going to see it. Again, it kind of reminds me of like Rhino Hero back in the day. We used to love playing Rhino Hero because you set it up on a table and everybody's standing up. Nobody's playing Rhino Hero sitting down, right? Nobody's playing Hamster Roll sitting down. You're standing up as you're trying to get that piece in there, right? Like, oh, I'm just gonna wait and see what happens. And the tension and the vibe, if it goes bad, you just re-rack, you play again. Who gives a shit? Super simple, very straightforward. But that wheel is so cool. It's so well designed. And just what a neat component in a game. I'm bringing this, so you guys better be ready to play it because we're going to talk shit. We're going to have some beverages and we're going to play this game, and I can't wait. And it's going to get loud. So yeah, the wheel from Hamster Roll is my number one right now. Like all lists, they're subjective and they could change based on the day that you ask me,
right.
What it is. It's always fluid. But yeah, it's like, yeah. It's so good. Do you guys have, I've got a couple of also Rands that are, out of the top 5 that I'm happy to talk about real quick. Do you guys have any others you want to mention before I hit that?
Most of my other ones got mentioned. The only thing that really didn't get mentioned was if you've played Black Fleet, it has these really cool ships on it that you can actually carry your cargo pieces on. And I think that is very cool. And it's very akin to, there's a new game out by, I'm not sure if it's Hachette or not, but I think it's called Moon, where you've got a little rover and you put your workers in it. I just think
that is Hachette.
Where you put like other bits inside there to move them around. Like I find that super interesting. Hence Anachrony, right? Where you're putting your worker inside that exosuit, moving around.
Right.
I think that kind of stuff is super cool. So
how about you, Mike?
I just had a brain fart.
Oh, I smell it.
Man.
Okay. So Mike, I'll go through mine while you think. Okay?
Go ahead.
We'll get you off the spot. Okay. So the dice tower from the spill. We talked to Andy about that last week.
That was it.
That thing is badass. That dice tower that looks like an oil rig. It's freaking amazing.
Especially once you find out that thing made the game.
Yes.
Like it was that before anything else.
Integral to the game, right? I haven't played it yet, but the way that you use the box lid from Harrow County, and it's a cube it's a cube tower. Right. So like you're going to be dropping cubes in. They're going to splash out onto the board and populate the board. Like what an ingenious way to incorporate the box lid into your components. Right. The game. Well, I guess it's even the whole box. Like the tower aspect of it is in the box. And then the lid has a little spot for the cubes, a hole for the cubes come out. Kind of close to what Bob was saying, but the boat from We're Sinking, where it's got multiple levels, and as you sink lower, right, you're revealing different treasures that are available in that boat. Very just ingenuitive, right? Very cool way to do that. I have to say that the painted miniatures from Giant Killer Robots GKR are so good, but I just talked about GKR last week. I didn't want to talk about it like at length 2 weeks in a row, but those painted minis, top-notch components from What a Workshop. They are not your whiz kids. I bought this game with pre-painted minis where the eyes are like this, like that. Like, no, these minis are painted very well. I prefer, hipster pick, Tim, check that off your bingo card. There's a US version of the game. It's just not made as well as the German version. But there's a game called Pyramid of the Penguin. So it's like a penguin. But the German version, which is Flug der Mumie, which is like Flee the Mummy. And it is a 1v many hidden movement game where and it's a vertical board that's between the two players. It's magnetic, and the mummy is moving their piece around, but they don't know where the players are, and the players are on the other side. And this board is like representative of the mummy's tomb that they're raiding. And the players can see on the other side of this board where because of the magnets where the mummy is moving. So the mummy is moving his piece, and it's moving on the other side of the board magnetically, the piece that the players can see. And if the mummy catches one of the players in his tomb, that their magnetic disc like just slaps right on top of the mummy's disc. So you hear that click and you're like, ooh, I caught somebody. And this game's very straightforward. It's very simple, but what a freaking cool mechanic. And I would love to see it done more, and like implemented more in that way. Those are some of them. I guess one last one I will say is that the OG flick 'em up with the wooden components is so freaking cool. The way that you build your whole city, you know what I mean? Out of that box, and you're flicking those discs, and you've got your little guys that are your shooters. Just such a cool component to have those little discs next to that meeple, that cowboy or bandit meeple, and you've got to put the disc right under where his gun hand would be as you fire and you go to flick. Just a fun take on a dexterity game. Those are my honorable mentions. Mike, I know I said at least one or two you might have been thinking of, but is there any other ones you want to mention?
Yeah, the spill is it, because it makes the game. Like, the game was designed on a dice tower that would spill dice into 4 quadrants, and it's such a genius thematic game.
Yeah.
And yes, Andrew, Big Boss was a hipster pick because that game came out in like 2000, and then it was reprinted by Prospero Hall like 3 years ago.
When you clicked on, it said 1989.
1989, even farther back is when that game originally came out.
Thank you for out hipstering me.
But Container is another one, and I love this game. This is one of my favorite auction games. But Container is a game about auctioning off shipping containers. So you actually have a shipping vessel and you place your containers on it, but it has slots for like 6 containers to perfectly fit on your ship. When they reprinted that game, because it was out of print for so long, the 10th anniversary edition gives you ships that are like a good 8 inches long. And the containers that go on there are really heavy and big. And they still have those same slots to fit the containers on there. The ships in every version of Container are just fantastic. So definitely one of my favorite components.
Hell yeah.
Very cool.
Hell yeah. Well, this list has been awesome. I mean, it's a really, I don't know. I say that about a lot of the lists because it's so much fun to just get to talk about all these different games, like these different reasons to sort of categorize and prioritize some of these games. And then just to hear what lands with other people, right? Like not just designers, but my peers as reviewers and just friends that I play board games with. And then even the chat, right? Games that have hit these people, in ways and that they love their games, right? Because, oh, this game does X, this game has that. And it's like, oh shit. Yes, that's amazing. Yeah, Matt, I will not give you a hard time for saying, yeah, it's self-serving to pick a list with like great components, or the cool component when you design Reality Shift. But listen, dude, if you design a game like Reality Shift with that component, own it, ride it. Like that's what's up. It looks like your new one, like also is going to be really strong on the component side.
Yeah.
Really, really looking forward to seeing that be a successful Kickstarter, and then maybe going out hat in hand, going, please, may we review this? But looks really cool, and congratulations on getting another game signed and everything. And it looks like they're just going to crush it with the production value of that, right? It's got to. Yeah,
they're doing an amazing job with it.
It's got to feel good to have a game that you've seen in its barest of bones form, then made, and you're like, wow, they did that with it. Like, so yeah, hats off to them, and hats off to you. Like, good work.
Feels good. Thank you.
Good way to, persevere. It's not easy. Even when there are games that are made that I don't like, I'm still impressed that somebody was able to get a game made, because I can't do that. And so to see somebody, like, put that out there, kudos.
Appreciate it.
Mike and Bob, I'm going to see you guys tomorrow.
Drive careful.
I will be doing 0 of the driving as far as I know. So I will ride carefully.
Have fun at the Iron Flamingo.
Yeah, apparently we've got a shopping list for Mike. As we swing through the Finger Lakes to get Mike some beer and a hoodie, apparently.
I mean, West is the one driving. He's the one that says he's willing to go that far out of the way to stop by the Iron Flamingo. That's how flamingo obsessed this guy is.
Hey, we're leaving an hour early to make it happen. So, Donnie, first of all, be ready to sign my mission control. And also, I'm going to force you to play games with me. I'm going to play. You know what we need to do is we need to get Mike and Bob, myself, and Donnie, and we need to corner Donnie and get him to play After Us IRL because he has smoked us on the BGA version of that so many times.
We need
to try to take him down in person.
We brought it.
Yeah, we did.
Okay. I'm not bringing mine then because you got it. So it's happening.
Yep.
Matt, we all pledge to give Googs a hard time for you.
There you go. Appreciate it.
Yes,
that is going to happen.
Here for it.
Matt, we do not have to
bother to say hi.
I know, right? It's like he's got something to do,
Yeah,
or better things to do. Hey, Donnie, we're counting on it. We want to register that win in our BGG stats over you, whatever it takes. One of the few games that I can beat Bob at. Look at Bob get mad. Look at Bob get salty. Worth it.
How many times have you beat me? Not that many. I can probably count on one hand.
Yeah, well, I tied you and I beat you, and you hate that.
Oh, there you go. Okay, boom. Mark it down. He can beat me. Yeah. Counts.
Listen, don't act like it doesn't bother you.
Not at all.
Exactly.
We almost done with this.
Matt, do not wait until a future project to come back on with us, man. It's been a good time. I love the list. It's great. It's good to hang out again, right? And we're not at Gen Con. You're not trying to like our origins. You're not trying to teach a game, and then talk to me at the same time. So let's hang out more. Let's do it. Let's make it happen.
I love it. Absolutely.
You
Everybody
boys
needs to check out Ice and Idols on Kickstarter September 24th.
That way. That's where they check out those things. Link in the chat way up at the top.
I'll put it in the description of the video as well.
And we'll share it on our socials next week when it goes live.
That'd be great. Thanks.
So
appreciate it.
No, we're excited for it, man. We're excited. We want to see it happen because we want to play it.
Yeah.
All right, you boys got anything else to add before we sign off?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I might New York.
I might try to do something live from Syracuse this weekend. We'll see what shakes out. But
okay.
The Wi-Fi.
Thanks for the warning.
The Wi-Fi couldn't really support it. We had to go mobile hotspot.
We did.
Oh, did you?
The room, it works way better. Not down here.
But we didn't want to shoot in the room because that seemed lame.
You also had a giant cock just hanging out in the background.
We did.
So.
1 foot, approximately.
Yeah, like 1 foot to be specific.
Yeah.
I love making Mike blush. It's so good. Okay. All right, boys. For the board game rundown, I've been Tim.
I was Bob.
I was a foot of cock.
I'm Mat Hanson.
Yes. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. We will see you next time. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
We'll see you guys.
Good job, Stonemeyer. A 7.3 repeating. Heating.